False. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Vladimir Putin reaffirming his iron grip on power in a stage-managed election. Putin claiming his highest ever victory, a whopping 87% of the vote. The only other candidates were Kremlin approved. Virtually all opposition leaders are in exile, jailed or dead. And for the first time ever, Putin uttering the name of his longtime political rival, Alexei Navalny, who died in a Russian penal colony last month. Putin claiming in his victory speech he agreed to release Navalny just days before he died. Navalny's wife, Yulia, voting in Berlin. While other Russian exiles there chant Russia against Putin. And thousands inside Russia heeding a call to converge on polling stations in protest Sunday midday, with queues forming in major Russian cities. One polling booth set ablaze in early voting Friday. But dissent in Putin's Russia, an increasingly dangerous game. The authorities clamping down, banning any candidate campaigning against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine, ballot boxes taken to people's homes under armed guard, according to Ukrainian officials. The US calling the vote there blatant propaganda.
Well, Putin does enjoy widespread popular support, but 87% of the vote is simply implausible in any democratic election. And with the war in Ukraine dragging on, it's hard to say how solid Putin's regime really is.
So I played that for you. Hello. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy belated birthday to Brett.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We're done. I played that for you because that is going to be us in 2028 if Donald Trump wins in 2024. You understand that, right? You get that that is what will happen. He will win by 87% of the vote if he's the president in 2027 when we vote for 2028. You get that, right? Because, you know, white people, that's kind of how it goes. None whiter than Russia. I mean, there's just no place on the planet. That's why it's the Caucasus Mountains, okay? That's why we're Caucasians. You understand? That's where the name. Okay. So he won by 87% of the vote and said, "Oh, you know, it's so fascinating. I was going to trade Navalny. I was going to actually release him." And then he died. And then he died. That's life, everybody. That's life. I swear to God.
Mr. President, journalist Evan Gershkovich spent this election in prison. Boris Nadezhdin, who opposes your war in Ukraine, wasn't allowed to stand against you. And Alexei Navalny died in one of your prisons during your campaign. Mr. President, is this what you call democracy?
That's life. If Mr. Nadezhdin took part in this election campaign, then this is first of all a result of his unsatisfactory work during the preparatory period for this election. He should have put in more active work with his supporters, avoided mistakes, avoided falsification of ballots. As far as I know, though I don't know for sure, that's what this was all about. There were not enough votes to proceed to the public election. As for Mr. Navalny, he has perished. That is always a sad event. Well, we've had other instances where people died in prison. Has nothing like that ever happened in the United States? It has happened, and not just once. By the way, this will be unexpected, but several days before Mr. Navalny perished, I was told by some of my colleagues, not administration employees, but some people, that there's an idea to exchange Mr. Navalny for some people in prison in Western countries. Believe it or not, the person talking to me hardly finished their sentence when I said, I agree, but just on one condition. We will exchange him for him to never come back. Let him stay there. That's it. But unfortunately, the thing that happened happened. Such things happen, and you can't do anything about it. That is life.
That's life. I told you this is what autocrats say to each other. This is what Assad said in Syria when they were showing him, you know, the decimated hospitals and schools and nurseries and daycares and like just bombed out little shells of what used to be Aleppo. That's what he said to Putin. That's what they say to each other. They go, well, you know, you live, you die. That's life. This is how they approach life. Okay. They all claim to be uber religious, but this is what they say when they have somebody murdered. Well, you know, crap happens, and that's life. So in Putin's Russia, you're either exiled, jailed, or dead if you run against him. And I think you need to know. I think you need to be able to look over there and say, oh my God, that is what will happen here if people actually show up for a lunatic like Donald Trump, who thinks that, you know, encouraging violence against his own country is acceptable behavior for a candidate for president. I mean, this is where we are. This is truly where we are. Now, I don't know if this means anything at all. I really don't know if it means, you know, jack. But Mike Pence, evangelicals, anybody? Mike Pence, the ultimate evangelical. I mean, the one who actually calls his wife mommy. How twisted. It's always your mother's, isn't it? Isn't it, boys? It's always about your mom. But anyway, he said he's not endorsing Donald Trump this time. He's not able. He can't make it happen for himself. I will not be.
It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
Surprise!
Look, I'm incredibly proud of the record of our administration. It was a conservative record that made America more prosperous, more secure, and saw conservatives appointed to our course in a more peaceful world. But that being said, during my presidential campaign, I made it clear that there were profound differences between me and President Trump on a range of issues, and not just our difference on my constitutional duties that I exercised on January the 6th. I mean, as I have watched his candidacy unfold, I've seen him walking away from our commitment to confronting the national debt. I've seen him starting to shy away from a commitment to the sanctity of human life. And this last week, his reversal on getting tough on China and supporting our administration's effort to force a sale of ByteDance TikTok.
Why do you think he did that? Why do you think he had that reversal on that before we go, sir?
Well, I can't speculate on it, but what I can tell you is that in each of these cases, Donald Trump is pursuing and articulating an agenda that is at odds with the conservative agenda that we governed on during our 4 years. And that's why I cannot, in good conscience, endorse Donald Trump in this campaign.
Wait. You thought he was a conservative? The guy who said you could grab him by that guy? You actually talked yourself into the idea that okay, never mind. So he said, now, does this mean anything? Does this mean anything to the evangelical community? Does this mean anything to, church people? Does this mean anything at all when the, vice president who was picked to bring in the evangelicals says, I can't. He's not an evangelical. Surprise. And he's not even conservative. Did you know that? Did you know that he wasn't even conservative? I didn't know. When he hired his daughter, I thought that was very conservative. When he hired his daughter's husband, I thought that was also, conservative is what I thought. When he separated, mothers from their children at the border and put them in cages, I thought that was extremely, extremely conservative. What? Yes, it wasn't until he tried to have me killed that I thought, that's not conservative. Is that what you're saying? No, this has nothing to do with the fact that they were, marching around trying to have me killed and put my entire family in harm's way. No, it has nothing to do with that, Fox. It has to do with principle. Anybody in Trump's orbit that is relying on character and principle as their guiding North Star after serving Donald Trump for 4 years and staying silent when he was condemning people to death because COVID in his mind was a hoax. I mean, pot, meat, kettle.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, so he had a rally this weekend, you know, and there were at least 1,000 people there. I swear it was tiny. It's not like it used to be. Nothing is. But this is really shrinking. You know, it happens with age, apparently. I don't know. But here was his open. This is the Orange Jesus' open. Now, some of you may remember this tune, okay, and others maybe you need me to tell you what it is. So I will up front, so you can enjoy with the rest of us. Go ahead, get the lyrics. This is the January 6th Prisoners Chorus. Okay. They recorded this whilst they were in prison for him. And they actually, I don't know, do they have recording studios in these jails? I'm not really sure like how they got access to, multi-tracking, but they did because they were able to overdub Donald Trump on top of their singing during the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
Oh my God. Oh, he's saluting this. Oh, wow. Oh my God. That was his open. The Eras Tour is going to lift that because it's so incredible, isn't it, everybody? Doesn't that just inspire confidence in him? Doesn't that just make you want to go out and vote for him? Literally, prisoners, people who attacked their own country's capital in the jail, recorded that mess, okay, and sent it to him, and he now opens his rallies with that and then says, after it's over,
well, thank you very much. And you see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly, and you know that, and everybody knows that. And we're going to be working on that soon. The first day we get into office, we're going to save our country, and we're going to work with the people to treat those unbelievable patriots, and they were unbelievable patriots and are. You see the spirit just cheering, they're cheering while they're doing that, and they did that in prison, and it's a disgrace in my opinion.
Okay, he didn't make any sense there, but hey, it's him. No, really, he didn't. He ended up putting them down, even though he was trying to elevate them into some sort of hostage status, even though these people attacked their own country's capital in an effort to stop a official proceeding of Congress called the certification of the electoral ballots. Okay. And now he's threatening to what? Empty the prisons? Is that what he's saying there? I'm going to empty the prisons on day one. Isn't that special? Isn't this what he accuses dictators across the earth of doing, emptying their prisons and sending people here? Isn't that what he's accusing Maduro in Venezuela of doing, emptying his prisons and sending people here? I think that's what Donald Trump has in mind. He's going to empty our prisons. He is. It's very strange. Now, this is also Mike Pence saying, you know, when he heard that, he was out. Okay, that was enough.
You see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly, and you know that, and everybody knows that. And we're going to be working on that soon. The first day we get into office, we're going to save our country, and we're going to work with the people to treat those unbelievable patriots, and they were unbelievable patriots and are.
I know in the past you said Mr. Trump's reckless words endangered you and your family on that day. What do you think when you hear him refer to those people facing charges as hostages and patriots?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate at a time that there are American hostages being held in Gaza, that the president or any other leaders would refer to people that are moving through our justice system as hostages. And it's just unacceptable. I was there on January 6th. I have no doubt in my mind, Margaret, that some people were caught up in the moment and that entered the Capitol. And they're certainly entitled to due process of law for any nonviolent activities that day. But the assaults on police officers, ultimately an environment that claimed lives, is something that I think was tragic that day, and I'll never diminish it.
Infighting. Infighting. Uh-oh. There's a cleavage in the party. A cleavage, everybody. Listen, let them go at it. When your enemies are destroying each other, do nothing. Do absolutely nothing. Just stand back, relax, and enjoy the show. I mean, this is just amazing. They did get due process, Mike. Okay, done. They had due process. They went on trial. Some of them pled. Some of them were, convicted by juries. Some of them got 20 years. Some of them, were stashing weapons across the Potomac, going on Alex Jones' show and saying that they'd already done recon, Stuart Rhodes, right? Already done recon, and they were all ready for this. They were prepared. They were ready. And, Donald Trump let them down. He let them down because they thought that Donald Trump would declare martial law that day. See, and this is what will happen the next inaugural day, right? That's what will happen. That's why he says, I'll be a dictator, but just for one day. Just on day one, I'll be a dictator. He's going to declare martial law. And once you do that, that's the Enabling Act. That gives all the powers, all of them, to the president, right? And that's the end of the United States. That's the end of democracy. That's the end of us. That's the end of everything, right? And Mike Pence won't tell you that. He just won't say that. And an extraordinary amount of conservatives won't tell you that. They just won't say it out loud, which is really weird, really, really weird. But now he says, oh, well, it's just so sad that these people, are making their way through our justice system and they all deserve due process for nonviolent crimes. But, apparently the ones who did violent crime aren't, they're not entitled to due process, Mike. I just listening to them will make you crazy. It really will. But you need to get crazy. You need to be as crazy as they are. And your nuts has to actually get you into the voting booth. Because otherwise, this is, when I showed you Russia over this weekend, do you know that man will be president for 30 years? Do you know that? Putin, 30 years. And Donald Trump will hand him Ukraine. A democracy, a genuine democracy in Europe. Donald Trump will say, no weapons, not a dime, not a penny, nothing. Here, take it, Vlad. This is your payday. Because it's big. It's a mob boss thing. And that's what he's running over there in Russia. And that's what Donald Trump literally dreams of. It's what he touches himself thinking about. And that's good because, porn is not allowed in very many of the red states now. Do you know that? Did you know that? I didn't know that. So, I don't know why, but I was watching Bill Maher, and Bill Maher was, pointing out to, that this country is still, great because you have porn on your phone, except in, and then he listed 13 different states, all red ones, that you can't get Pornhub anymore because Pornhub refuses to broadcast it in Texas. Refuses to broadcast it in Mississippi. All these freaking what? Because Pornhub wants to do age verification like everybody, but Texas made it almost impossible to do. Like you have to have a government issued ID now. How?
Call in, connect. Speak to Randi. Call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, everybody. So today is March 18th. You know what that means? Do you? It means it is day one of the Spring Pledge Drive. That is what it means. We're starting the Spring Pledge Drive right now. It is an election year, as you know. Democracy is on the brink. It's being tested like you've never, ever been tested before. It's incredible what we're going through here as a country. The chaos, the ugliness of it, the revenge factor, the retribution that's pledged, and the people that want that for our beautiful country. It's really scary. It's very sick. It's very twisted. But, in order to get real information to you, in order to get people oriented who may, just stumble upon us and just say that, what is that? What is that? And sit and listen to us for a few minutes. And of course, they're going to call in and yell at me, but that's okay. It's okay. Because if in the end I get them to Google something or to research something for their own damn selves, and they find out that they've been lied to, and they find out that they've been defrauded this entire period of their life. I mean, it's almost 8 years now. Then we have done good. We have done a wonderful and good thing. But did you know that the number one source of our funding is you? It is. Because we don't do commercials and we don't take corporate money. You don't see big pharma ads here. You don't see political ads here. You don't see, where the big money comes from. The big money comes from in an election year, from political campaigns, and it comes from big pharma. And you know that if you watch, what they call legacy media. You know that, right? Well, we don't do that. We don't have any of that. We're a not-for-profit. Been here almost 26 years now. And this is what we do, and we do it for you, with you. And so today is day one of the Spring Pledge Drive, and you can be part of this fabulous thing that we have built together by calling 877-378-8669. You see it right there. And you can donate now, use your Visa, American Express, PayPal, we don't care. There's a QR code on the screen, too. That will take you to our website, which is freespeech.org. Yes, it's an org because it is a not-for-profit, okay? So visit us there. If you want to use your phone, by all means, do that. Just put the letters FSTV into your phone after you dial 44321. 44321, put in FSTV. We'll send you a secure link. You can make a recurring donation that way, or you could do a one-time. If you do a recurring, just know you can cancel at any time, okay? Thank you so much for doing this for us, and we'll do our very best for you. This was more of the crap that was spewed from the stage in Dayton, Ohio this weekend, okay? I'm not going to characterize this in any way. I'm just going to let you hear it.
I got indicted more than Al Capone. Does anybody know who Al Capone is? Alphonse Capone. He would even take a guy like J.D. and slap him around.
What?
He'd take J.D. Who the hell are you, Senator? Little, I'd slap you around. No, he used to kill people if he didn't like their company at dinner.
Okay, well, why do we have a presidential candidate standing on a stage invoking Al Capone and saying he would kill you if he didn't like your dinner company? And he would take a senator that was there attending this charade, J.D. Vance, and say, oh, Al Capone would take you and slap you around. What is all this violent imagery? And why is it aimed at J.D. Vance? What the hell was that about? I mean, they're all strange, these rallies. They're all very weird, and yes, I have to watch all of them, and, Howard loves them. He loves them. But I actually have to watch this so that I can tell you just exactly how low this man is going and exactly how violent he wants to get and exactly how threatening he is and exactly, what he's claiming his policies will be for the United States, a la, I will be a dictator on day one. Meaning martial law on day one, which is that is exactly what Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio and all these people, this is why they made their pact, okay, between the gangs, right? They made their agreement that they would stay out of each other's way on January 6th because in the end, they would all be called upon to be the new military because Donald Trump was going to declare martial law. And, some of us were listening to that thinking these people are crazy. But they were actually all in. They were going to do it. And Donald Trump chickened out. He did. He chickened out. And so now he's got, like his sidekicks and his the people who are sort of in his orbit but stay far enough away to kind of not implicate him in coordinating these violent episodes. Like, for instance, Steve Bannon, who is going to go on trial in New York State, I think on the 25th of this month. Now, Bannon was convicted of federal fraud with the We Build the Wall thing, but Donald Trump pardoned him. He pardoned him for ripping off you people that support Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. He ripped you off to the tune of $1 million he paid himself. And, of course, he was arrested on a Chinese billionaire's yacht. A detail of the crime, of the caper, that's often left out when discussing Steve Bannon's plight. TikTok. Yeah, they're against China. He was on a Chinese billionaire's yacht when they came for him. Okay. So anyway, this was Bannon at his little song and dance thing. He had a little a dog and pony show this weekend, too. It was called The Moment or something like this. I mean, only people who are deep in the goo would know this event. But what was interesting about this one is Bannon actually asked straight out, if you were willing to go to jail for Donald Trump, because you have to be willing to go to prison for him to remain, I guess, in his orbit or to remain faithful. It was very interesting.
But this is what American Moment is, and this is why I've been a huge supporter of this from day one, and this is why I come over and give the talks. Because there are not many people like the leadership of this organization. But more importantly, there's not many people like the young people that we're putting in on Capitol Hill into the committees, into the second Trump term. You can't just talk about deconstructing the administrative state. You have to do it. You have to take on the deep state. You have to do it. You have to be prepared to go to prison. I get prison sentences all over.
You have to be willing to go to prison. I have prison sentences all over. Well, he was pardoned by Donald Trump, and now he's facing a state trial in New York for the same fraud, for the We Build the Wall theft of your money, okay? People that gave to him to, build this wall. Well, we'll just do it ourselves is what we'll do. And, he took the money. Him and a wounded warrior. Well, he wouldn't lie to us, Colfage. He wouldn't lie to us, would he? I mean, the guy is a wounded warrior. Yes, he lied to you. He stole the money, too. So, you know what I mean? Unbelievable. So he's asking today, if you are loyal, then you have to be willing. Like the people who are in charge of this organization, American Moment, they're willing to go to prison for Donald Trump. And you must be willing to go to prison for Donald Trump. In order to what? Destroy the government as it is, to deconstruct the administrative state, which just means a civilized society. You understand? That's what all these agencies do. They keep America a civilized society that doesn't let them dump garbage on your lawn.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You can't just talk about deconstructing the administrative state. You have to do it. You have to take on the deep state. You have to do it. You have to be prepared to go to prison. I get prison sentences all over.
I just, wow. Okay, so there's that. And then, do you remember on Friday we were reviewing the gubernatorial candidate, the guy who came out of the Republican primary victorious and now is being considered for the governorship of North Carolina, Mark Robinson? Do you remember his little pitch to the people he was addressing from the stage? Remember, he was saying that when the knock comes on the door from the FBI, will you be willing to stand up and fight? Remember that?
We once again can be the leaders of freedom in this nation, and it starts with us having a conversation in the mirror. Can I do it? Am I willing? When the chips are down, when the FBI is knocking on my door, will I cower? Will I comply, or will I stand up and fight? Folks, it's time to stand up and fight.
Really? So, with all this violent, talk coming from various stages across this country this weekend, all aimed at destroying our way of life, all aimed at destroying the government, all aimed not at, getting better people or streamlining or using technology to, make things more efficient or better customer service, like at the IRS. No. It's all about killing people. It's all about going to jail, doing violence, killing people, hurting people. When the knock comes on the door, have the conversation with yourself, look yourself in the mirror and say, am I willing to do it? Do I have the courage to do it? And when the knock comes on the door, will I fight the FBI? Will I do it? Will I do it? And then, Donald Trump opens up his little, rally, which, by the way, he was supposed to be in Dayton, Ohio, Donald Trump was, to endorse a guy for the United States Senate. Okay? Could anybody tell me the name of the guy? No, because I think he said the name of the guy one time in this hour-long violent come to me and I'll set you free I'll be your retribution sort of a pitch. I mean, this went on for a really long time, and I couldn't even tell you well, I can, but most people could not tell you the name of the guy that he was there to endorse. And people who went there from various newspapers, from the Associated Press, etc., they saw one sign with that man's name on it, and all the vendors that were selling stuff for Trump were selling nothing with that guy's name on it, the guy he was there to get you to vote for the United States Senate. Okay, because Donald Trump was very busy complaining about Donald Trump. He was very busy complaining about losing, and that the people that didn't want him to lose were willing to do violence for him, and that he saluted them. He literally stood there as an ex-commander-in-chief, and literally saluted them. Like, for real. Like, it was a bad salute, but he saluted them. And then, participated in their little song that they recorded in prison. And then told them that he'd been indicted more than Al Capone, and Al Capone would slap J.D. Vance around if he was still alive, because he wouldn't like J.D. Vance's dinner company or some such crap. Okay. Then he went, down. He started downshifting into, schools, and that any school that requires a vaccine of any child will not get 1 penny of funding. Well, since I entered school like 100 years ago, you had to have certain vaccinations like polio, diphtheria, like measles and mumps, and chickenpox, didn't come till later. I actually had to go to school with people who had the chickenpox. I got the chickenpox. I brought the chickenpox on. They used to have chickenpox parties to get it over with. So like every mother on the block would have kids with chickenpox all at the same time to just get it over with. But he actually said not 1 penny to any school that requires a vaccine.
And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
Yay! Make polio great again. Let's see our crippled youth. Bring them out. I mean, what do we want? We want to bring back telethons now for preventable diseases? And they cheer these people. Yes, let's bring back measles and mumps. Let's bring back chickenpox parties. Let's do that. Was fun. They don't know what they're doing. Okay, they have no idea. And so after all of this, he goes and downshifts into his policy on electric vehicles. Okay. And the media at large, some of them took it out of context and just focused on the violent imagery, because so much of what happened this weekend with his, I guess we call them surrogates, the Steve Bannons and the Mark Robinsons from North Carolina, everything that they were saying over this last few days was violent. Have this come to you. Look yourself in the mirror. Tell yourself that. Ask yourself the question, are you brave enough? Are you courageous enough? Are you willing to do it? And what is it? Well, when the knock comes on the door and it's the FBI, you have to stand up and fight? What? And Bannon, you have to be willing to go to prison for this man. You have to be willing to do it. And then he comes on the stage and says,
we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So, excuse the media who got confused because he was only threatening the bloodbath for the car industry with a 100% tariff on electric vehicles that were Chinese manufacturing, the result of Chinese manufacturing in Mexico? What the? Now, for the really stupid, for the really, really idiotic, I have to just tell you this, okay? And this is not for my audience, because my audience doesn't need to be told this. Tariffs are not paid by the country where the tariffs are placed. Tariffs are paid by you when you go to buy goods from that country. So you would be paying 100% tariff on something you might want to buy because he decided he's not for Chinese electric vehicles that are being manufactured in Mexico. Although he's now for TikTok, as you know, and Bannon, as I pointed out earlier, was arrested for fraud, for defrauding his own audience on a Chinese billionaire's yacht in Connecticut, which makes it even more delicious. Okay, so I mean, what the hell? What the hell was anybody supposed to think? That wasn't violent imagery, that he wasn't asking people to do violent, or that the bloodbath wasn't going to be something that, you know, the least of it that America would see if he... Give me a break. Give me a break. And then, okay, you know, he oh my God, he dehumanized immigrants and just kept on contributing to this awful mess that he is, to the point where people were like, oh my God, what is he really offering? What is he offering? And the thing that he's offering, just to be clear, for those of us who are decent, for those of us who live principled lives, who basically do the right thing when no one's looking, try to live our lives, try to be honest in our dealings and doings, try to raise good kids, try to find a little time for ourselves in the middle of it. Okay? I got to tell you that is not what he has in mind for you. That is not the America that he wants for any of us. He doesn't want a country where we're all doing our very best. He wants a country that promises to get even with the losers, for the losers, on behalf of the losers in our country, who feel like those of us who do the right thing when no one's looking and are able to spend some time with our grandkids or spend some time with our kids, or our kids are doing fine, our kids are doing well, whatever. They hate us so much. They resent our little bit of middle-class success, so that they actually want a president who will get even with us, who will actually destroy our lives. They won't do any better. They won't get another nickel in their pocket. They won't get another, a ladder of opportunity, as we call it. No, but they want us to not get it either.
Mary had a little man.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
But I got to know all these people. They're very smart, very streetwise. And I would do the same thing. If I had prisons that were teeming with MS-13 and all sorts of people that they've got to take care of for the next 50 years, right? Young people, they're in jail for years, if you call them people. I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion. But I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. They say you have to vote against him because did you hear what he said about humanity? I've seen the humanity, and these are bad. These are animals, okay?
Oh my
God.
God.
We have to stop it. We can't have another Lakin. We have so many people. We have so many people being hurt so badly and being killed. They're sending their prisoners to see us. They're bringing them right to the border. And they're dropping them off, and we're allowing them to come in. And these are tougher than anybody we've got in the country. These are hardened criminals. And we've got hundreds of thousands of them. And we're not going to take it. We're just not going to take it. They are destroying our country. I'm telling you, he's the worst president we've ever had and the most incompetent president we've ever had. And he's also the most crooked president we have ever had. Now, other than that, I think he's doing an excellent job.
Okay, so his wall worked, but now it doesn't because apparently people who are in MS-13, which, by the way, is an American thing. It's an American thing. But people who are in the MS-13 are being driven to the border and dropped off by an Uber or some such thing. I don't know. Is it a Lyft? Is it an Uber? Is there an app for that? They're being dropped off, and these are not people. These are animals. Okay. Animals do not get due process. They get put to sleep. And I want you to understand that that is what he's proposing. He's saying and the whole idea that he was saying at the beginning with the J6 people that he needs to release them all. He's going to release our prisoners from prison, and he's going to empty our prisons. He is. You know who else does that? Putin does that. Putin empties his prisons and uses those prisoners as cannon fodder so that they can then die in Ukraine for him and his, wet dream of taking Ukraine back into the, Soviet Empire. So, I mean, he's telling you who he is, and he's showing you what he is, and he's showing you that there are, an inordinate amount of types of humans that don't deserve due process, that don't deserve to be respected as humans, that they should be talked about and treated as animals. You remember when he was first? Oh God, remember when he was first president? And you had Duterte over in Malaysia, and Duterte was having a drug war, and he decided that the people that were on drugs weren't people, they were animals, and he needed to execute them. He just needed to have little motorcycle groups go around the country and just execute anybody that seemed to be either using drugs or on drugs. It didn't matter. Just extrajudicially execute them. And Donald Trump was in awe of that. He wanted that power for himself so bad. And, he always talks about violence. He always talks about how he dreams about being allowed to commit violence. It's just who he is. It's what he fantasizes about. I'm telling you, this is what he touches himself, thinking about, which is good because there's no porn anymore. Porn has been banned by the porn companies. They're banning themselves. They don't even want to do business in red states. I mean, it's just so unbelievable to me. It's not like Greg Abbott just said, okay, we don't want porn in Texas. Of course he wants porn in Texas. It's Texas. But they don't want to do business in Texas, Pornhub. So they're not, if you go to Pornhub in Texas, you're going to get a screen that says, we're not here. We're not, we don't serve you. We don't do anything for you. We're not about you. And I'm looking at like all these states. Oh, look at these states. Here, I wrote them all down. Where Pornhub won't show Pornhub, okay? So Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, North Carolina, Virginia, and Vermont. Well, except for like the last four, who would want to live there? And now there's no porn there. Definitely don't want to live in Mississippi or Arkansas or Texas anymore because there's no porn. I mean, how do you even have a marriage without porn? I don't understand it. I really don't. But you know who I really feel bad for? I feel bad for the performers. The performers, my God! Now they can't collect their money from people in Texas or Arkansas or Mississippi, who I'm sure are like a very huge part of their profit center, right? And why? Because they passed these laws in those states that it's not just, listen, Pornhub wants to verify age too. I mean, God knows if I put something on YouTube and YouTube decides that it's violent or that it's not suitable for all advertisers or it has to be, they will actually put up a thing that says my video is age restricted. Like, God forbid I show you the actual fallout of Putin's decisions in Ukraine and you see dead bodies, right? Because there are dead soldiers there, or there are people who have lost their limbs there by stepping on landmines, which is a thing in this world. Okay, if I do that, then my videos get age restricted. So Pornhub has no problem age restricting. Texas and these other places, they've decided that they want government-issued ID to be shown. What do I do? Sit there and hold it up to my camera on my computer? Like, what do I do? How do I even do? So no one could figure out how to do it. So you know what they said? They said, well, so you know what? Until you figure it out, we're just not going to show anything. We're not doing business in any of these states. We're just not. They said that the way that they're age verifying with the government ID, plastic, is ineffective, haphazard, and dangerous. And Pornhub said, listen, we're all about verifying. We don't want to, do anything, that people who are under the age of 18 or 21 even should ever see. Okay, it's not what we do. So, I don't know, but this is the world in which...
Add another thing to the list that the red states are waging war on that their voters absolutely love. M&M's, Bud Light, Disney, weed, and now porn. Like, who do you think is voting for you?
Well, and that's the thing, like if you go buy weed, right, if you go online and you even try to buy a seed, and I know this because I grow, and it's springtime now, I'm just like almost ready, but they verify your age, okay? And there are these programs where you certify and then they go, look, there's some database. People know everything. I mean, they know everything about you, every freaking thing about you, including how old you are. And so Pornhub said, we believe the only effective solution for protecting minors and adults alike is to verify users' age on their device and to either deny or allow access to age-restricted materials and websites based on that verification. That is the message you will get if you go to Pornhub, because they're all about it. They're all about it. But the legislation that they're passing puts your privacy at risk and minors at risk. And I'm not sure what they know about, what's being asked of them. But they're like, no, we're not going to do business in your state at all. And so they took away my rights, right, to privacy. They took away my rights to privacy. Men, are you going to get serious about this now? Are you? Because they're taking away your right to porn. Your right to rub one out, which is an innocent little thing. No one gets hurt. What do you... Brett's sitting there making a face.
People can get hurt.
No one can get hurt. But the sperm, all the sperm is sacred.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Our nation is failing. We're a nation that is in serious decline.
What?
We've never had a situation like this where we're not respected, we're laughed at, we're considered almost a joke.
Yes, for considering you as president again. That's the only, they're laughing at you, sir. And he knows that, and that's why he's projecting this onto you. Listen, it's very sick, and it's very twisted, and it's very, a psychological drama that, they'll make movies about. But let them make the movies about that first and only termed president. Let them do it that way. Lynette in New Hampshire.
Yeah, speaking of movies, when I heard that comment about Al Capone being a tough guy and beating people up at dinner, although it did really happen, I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump saw it when he was watching Robert De Niro in The Untouchables.
Oh, you remember that scene, right? You remember it was like De Niro was standing, he played Al Capone, right?
Yeah, with a baseball bat, yep.
And he said, when a man becomes preeminent, he has to have his enthusiasms.
Enthusiasms.
Yes, and he said, and what makes a man's enthusiasms? What is that brings me joy? And he says, baseball. And he brings out a big-ass baseball bat and then cracks people's heads open with it. I was like, oh, that's one of the greatest opening scenes I've ever seen.
Absolutely. And I think, as I said, I think Donald Trump saw it too.
But you know what's really twisted, Lynette, in all of this? It's the irony of this story. De Niro actually said that he could never and would never consider playing Donald Trump because there is nothing redeeming in Donald Trump. And every bad guy he's ever played, whether he was, in The Godfather or, in The Untouchables or whatever, he said all of these bad guys had something redeeming, like Jimmy the Gent, okay? There was a quality that they could, find good in this bad person. He said there's nothing in Donald Trump that's redeemable, so he couldn't play him.
Nope, he's right, too.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah. And now he's spending a lot of time saying a lot of things that we can't say on your airwaves about Donald Trump, which I kind of like, too.
Well, he's always been political, but that was an interesting comment, considering the badness and the evil characters that he's played, the killers, let's just say, that he's played. But, saying that he was able to play them by bringing some humanity to them and making these characters almost likable. Mob movies, we root for the mafia. It's crazy, but it's true, right? And that's thanks to actors like De Niro and poor Al Pacino, who swears they told him, he screwed up the Oscars. Okay, just saying. Al Pacino was asked to present the Best Movie Award last week. And there were 10 nominees, and he didn't read any of the nominees. He just gave the award to Oppenheimer. He just stood there, opened the envelope, and said, "My eyes see Oppenheimer." And people were like, "Oh, God, how drunk is he?" Do you know? Because he didn't announce you get to be an Oscar-nominated movie. You sort of kind of want to hear yourself, be nominated at least, He says now that the Academy told him to do it that way.
Speaking of famous anti-heroes that we love, Pacino as Scarface, man. We love Scarface. He's not a great guy.
Well, that was about the Mariel boat lift. That was when, believe it or not, Castro actually did empty the prisons. That is where this idea of emptying prisons comes from. It actually happened. In Cuba, Fidel Castro emptied his prisons. This was after, I threatened to nuke you, then you move Russians in and threaten to nuke me, and then we land on your beach, and then you foil it, and we have the Bay of Pigs crisis, then we have 13 days where we all think we're going to die, right? I mean, that's the era that Donald Trump remembers. What's interesting and ironic about that is that the immigration policy that the United States adopted after Fidel Castro decided to open up and empty his prisons and send people over here was wet foot, dry foot. What does that mean? Well, we decided that if you were from Cuba and you could get a dry foot on our sand, you could stay. Period. Wet foot, dry foot. And so we got these waves of people coming here from Cuba just trying to get on our beach. And if they did, they were okay. They were fine. And, God forbid, we would talk about wet foot, dry foot being an immigration policy yet again. People would have oh, my God, they would have, the vapors. They would have spells. They wouldn't be able to, walk and talk at the same time. Their heads would be spinning like a cartoon character. You know what I'm saying? Amazing. Well, we didn't allow for Haiti. Haitians didn't have wet foot, dry foot, even though they're in the Caribbean too. No, they didn't get that. But Cubans did. And that's what Donald Trump remembers. And that's what he's talking about when he says emptying prisons. Although he is obviously contemplating emptying our prisons and sending people over there, wherever there is, Venezuela, I don't know, wherever he wants to get even with people, because it's always with him going to be about retribution. It's never going to be about the shining city on the hill. It's never going to be about doing the right thing when no one's looking. It's never going to be about a country that is so awe-inspiring that people want to come here. No, it's not about that for him. For him, it's about him and getting even with people he feels he needs to get even with. Judy in North Carolina.
Hi, Randy. How you doing?
Hi.
I love your show. I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, hey.
And like I told your screener, I think I'm calling for me and a few million others when we're scared to death about this upcoming election, especially after Trump talked about the bloodbath. He can try to walk that back any way he wants. We know what he was talking about. He's already trying to to cite insurrection.
Well,
And,
you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be that particular one thing that he said. You know, let's say maybe he was talking about just the auto industry, and they would have a bloodbath. I don't know what, but the UAW doesn't think so because they endorsed Joe Biden. Okay, so even if that was his intention, he was wrong about that too. He was wrong that if we elected Joe Biden, the stock market would crash. He was wrong about a lot of things, but set that one clip aside with the bloodbath and look at the entirety of everything he says whenever he can say to a camera what he wants to do. It's always violent.
I know. And other than volunteering, driving people to polls and giving what money we can, what else can we do to stop him?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, is there anything else we can do
besides voting?
Vote, give money, volunteer.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm doing all that stuff.
That's great. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you need to do. That's what you should do. That's how and that's how you do it. That is exactly how you do it. We're a democracy. That's, you know, people get very frustrated because legal means mean exactly what she said. Volunteering, showing up to vote, taking your friends to vote, maybe giving rides to people who need to get there to vote. That's how you do it.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody, it is day one of the spring Free Speech TV Pledge Drive. Day one. And the reason why you need to support us, I'll give you a damn good reason. Election year, okay? There, I said it. And, you know, obviously we bring context and dialogue and explain things, take our time, engage you in dialogue with us, engage you engage us, okay? And it's the only place I know where you can actually discuss or scream or yell or cry or joy, whatever, about politics in this manner without interference from corporate, without interference from political, without fear or favor for anything. Okay, just, you know, go to the phone and do it, right? So give us a call at 877-378-8669 and support Free Speech TV, Free Speech TV. And if you want to go to the website, it's freespeech.org. That QR code on the screen will take you right there. Or use your phone and go text 44321 and then put in the letters FSTV, and we'll send you a secure link that way. Now, you can do a recurring donation. You could do a one-time. It's up to you. But if you do recurring, just know you could cancel it at any time at all. So thank you very much for your support. We hope for another 25 years of being around as an independent TV station for you. This is interesting. This is there is a group out there. There's a bunch of groups out there that are trying to get the Never Trump Republicans together so that there can be sort of a permission structure, which is what they call, you know, laying down a path of welcome, right? A welcoming committee for people who maybe, you know, never wanted to vote for Trump, just thought maybe they would try something different and then saw what it was and said, I'm out. Maybe they voted for Nikki Haley this time and she's out. And there are people who are, you know, Republicans who don't know what to do with their voice. They don't know who to speak for. Should they speak for Joe Biden? Should they vote for Joe Biden? Should they endorse Joe Biden? Right? And so there's a lot of effort going into organizing Republican voters who are explaining to other Republican voters something I can't do, why they're going to vote for Joe Biden.
I am a conservative Republican, but I cannot stand the lying, the cheating, the illegal activities that Trump has perpetuated.
Basically, Trump lost, and he is a poor loser.
I was a Haley supporter, but now I'm going to vote for Biden. There are key issues such as democracy that are bigger than any one candidate or any one policy disagreement.
I know that democracy will be saved under Biden, and we can start the Republican Party anew once the era of Trump is over.
You know, that's possible, but there's very little left of the Republican Party as is. There's very little left. There is absolutely no fiscal responsibility that runs through Trump. You know what the news was today about Donald Trump? Donald Trump went shopping to, insurance carriers, to surety companies, asking if they would, give the bond that he needs to guarantee the $454 million fraud case. Right? He wants to appeal it. Well, what we never really understood until now is if you're a billionaire who committed fraud in New York State and the judge, you waived your right to a jury trial, and the judge actually adjudicates you as being liable for this fraud and then says that the amount that you fraudulently got, the amount you need to pay back because you got this through fraud, is $454 million. If you want to appeal that decision, you have to put up $454 million. You have to show that you're good for it, and then you can delay the disbursement until an appeals court hears it. And then, if you have enough money in this country, you can go all the way to the Supreme Court if they agree to take it. So Donald Trump was looking for somebody to put up a bond, basically, to guarantee $454 million. And no one, he went to 30 different companies, 30 different companies, and failed to secure a $500 million bond for his civil fraud case in New York. And his lawyer today said, doing so is a, quote, practical impossibility. Can't do it. Won't happen. Can't do it, Sally. Not even for old time's sake? No, Tom, can't do it. Okay, so 450. He said he could put up 100 million, but not 454. And he found the Chubb Group was able to put up, $88 million. But this is, $88 million, and 454, that's $500 million. That's 5 times worse. And nobody is willing to do that. Nobody, no company at all is willing to do that. 30 companies said no. So they characterize that as insurmountable difficulties. So either Trump won't be able to appeal it or he's going to have to start paying it out. I mean, and so on March 25th, Letitia James, who was successful in her prosecution of Donald Trump in the civil fraud case in New York, can start to take his buildings. She can start to take his assets. Now that'll be fun. But I warn everybody, that's when he gets violent. That's when, just talking the way he talks, watching him get triggered by having to, have, this is, I guess, why they're talking about, when the knock comes on the door, you're going to stand and fight. This is kind of like the end of Scarface, where he goes out fighting. And, at the end of Scarface, he's like, say hello to my little friend, and starts shooting his own house, starts shooting his own joint up, because, he dead or alive, he knows he's made his choice which way he's going. He's going feet first. That's what he's doing, right? Your womb is so polluted. Say hello to my little friend. He just snorts a mountain of cocaine and just starts shooting until he's dead. Okay, I don't know. I don't know how Donald Trump goes. I don't know what his but they're gonna take his stuff real soon. Real soon they're gonna take it. And it's going to be a crushing blow because when you consider all these other trials, this is the New York trial. This is the order of things. This is the correct order of things that we're used to seeing, where you go on trial, the trial happens, there's a verdict, you don't like the verdict, you want to appeal the verdict, right? Everything else that's happening with Donald Trump, in the middle of the trial, there's appeals. And we're not used to seeing that. And you know why there's appeals in the middle of the trial, in the middle of the proceedings, before the jury? Because he's claiming presidential immunity. And that is putting a hold on everything pending the Supreme Court's decision about whether a former president has immunity for crimes that he committed while he was president.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, 47 after. Gary in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, hey, Randy.
Hey.
You know, about, where was I at here? Okay. About Trump and his money.
Yeah.
That old saying where, the one that says money talks and you know what walks.
Yeah, bye-bye.
That really applies to him now, doesn't it?
It does.
So I have two things to say about what you've been discussing. One, it's really funny to watch the undisputed worst president ever in U.S. history call Joe Biden the worst president ever.
Right.
And the second one is this wet foot, dry foot thing.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and the 90s, when we'd be offshore fishing, we'd frequently come across these Cuban rafts. They were always empty.
Oh.
But inside of them were sometimes very interesting artifacts, like a Cuban yo-yo fishing reel, if you know what that is. That's for like fishing with a hand line, made out of a piece of a palm tree. You live down here. When you see somebody cut a palm tree down, you know how rough the pulp is inside?
Yeah.
Or a machete that had Russian writing on it. I pulled one of them out of a raft one time. And fishing line that had a spool written with Russian language, stuff like that. I always wondered what happened to these poor Cubans because they were always empty.
Yeah.
And one time, a friend of mine found a dead one out there floating, and he was catching mahis, the dolphin.
Yeah.
All around the dead body. The whole school was around him.
God.
And he called the Coast Guard to tell him he found a corpse, and the Coast Guard made him stay there the whole time until they arrived,
Oh, it's
so this
sad.
Cuban thing was really a big thing. And
it was huge. It was a real thing. Listen, it actually was Castro emptying out his prisons.
In 1980, that's when Mariel happened. It was May of 1980.
Right.
Remember they had the giant tent set up underneath the overpasses in Miami? You were probably at the WIOD then,
Yeah, I was just beginning talk radio. Yeah, people were living under the overpass, and there were tent cities, and that's how Scarface the movie opens up. That is the first scene.
Yep, he was a Marielito.
That's right, and they took on the Colombian drug lords, right? And this is what that story is.
And then the Miami River cops, you remember them?
Yes.
And then they would be like against these drug dealers, and they'd be finding the dead bodies in the river down there.
Yes.
And then in 1962, when I was a little boy in Catholic school, I remember all of a sudden, one day out of nowhere, there was like all these Cuban kids in my class. And they didn't speak any English, but they were in there. I think they came over as refugees, and the Catholic Church paid for them to go to a Catholic school, And I remember the bus driver that would take me to school in the morning, he gave us a dime if we could learn how to count to 10 in Spanish.
Oh.
That's how with it this bus driver was, this old man, and he knew that this Cuban thing was going to be a growing situation down here, and from living down here, it surely is.
Yeah, and I don't feel worse for it. I don't think.
Oh no!
I mean, I honestly don't think anything bad happened to us.
Oh no!
As a result of Cuban immigration, okay. I mean, I feel like we got a whole lot out of it. I feel like we got
heck yeah.
We got a lot.
Check this out.
A lot of good stuff out of that. So
yesterday, my daughter walks out of her bedroom and she says, "Hey, Dad, you think you can find this movie on TV called Born in East L.A.?"
Oh,
and I said, "Yeah, let's try it." So I found it. And we sat and we watched it, and she's, my daughter's really smart, and she says, "God, this movie would be so appropriate for today." So what I'm going to tell you and everybody else listening, that if you can find this movie with Cheech Marin called Born in East L.A., it is so, number one, funny, and number two, so real of like what's going on today with immigration.
You know who loved that? You know who loved Cheech and Chong in general? My mother.
No kidding. I wonder why.
You know, and it's a long story, but suffice it to say, we were on one of our famous road trips, and we went to the movies in the middle of the afternoon, only because there was air conditioning in the movie theater in Ohio, okay?
No kidding.
Yeah, and so the only
Was it up in smoke?
Yes, it was up in smoke. And when we came out, we were the only ones in there. And my mother and I laugh exactly the same, so it was just like really loud. And then when we left, she goes, I never knew Chinamen could make such a funny movie. Oh, God.
Everything's better with pot.
Yeah, right? So there you have it.
So long.
Yeah, bye-bye. But yes, all of this happened here in Miami, okay? All of this happened here in Fort Lauderdale. All of this happened here in Palm Beach. And everybody is fine. Do you know that's the crazy part? And he's very busy, this man that holds himself out as, you know, the most... the best choice you could make to lead our democracy, to lead our country, is calling people animals. Animals. They're people. They're people. People, not animals. Lana in Tennessee.
Oh, hi, Randy.
Hi, Lana.
Goddess of the airwaves. One quick thing. I'm going to have to check my Free Speech TV subscription. You know, I give monthly donations. I might up it again.
Oh, thank you.
Just to be supportive, because it's so important. And the thing that got me calling you today, I called last week and I never got on, but today it literally sent my blood pressure sky high. And I have high blood pressure anyway, so that's not good. But when you played that clip of Trump and saying that they aren't even human beings, according to him, and I was like, oh, you know where my mind went immediately was that is right out of Hitler's playbook when he called Jews vermin.
And he's used that word too. He's used the word vermin as well.
Yes, he has. And it just, oh my gosh. But see, I go out of my way to never listen to him. So God bless you for, you know, subjecting yourself to that kind of torture.
Well, everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know the quality of his character, which is about as low a blow to humanity as you could get. I mean,
absolutely
the idea that this man, and you know that we only get two. This is really a very sad statement about democracy and the electoral college. But out of 350 million Americans, this is where we are. We have Donald Trump representing the Republican Party and Joe Biden at 81, who I'm sure if it wasn't Donald Trump, I'm sure Joe Biden would have retired. I'm sure he would have.
Yes.
You know, but
I think so too.
I do. But I think he really, really understands what we're up against here, and he will actually spend this whole year as an 81-year-old man with an amazing amount of accomplishments already achieved, campaigning, which is a horrible, horrible way to spend your day.
Of course it is. And in my book, in my lifetime, and like you know, I just turned 60, in my lifetime, bar none, the best president I've ever, you know.
Well, he actually got more done than anybody I've known
no question.
in my adult life, right? So, I mean, honestly, the idea that this man has already come, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, the Chips and Science Act, the Child Tax Credit, the Recovery Act, the you know, everybody got in the mail the tests right away, and then the access to the vaccines, everything free of charge. Everybody go and, you know, develop your immunity, get healthy, get well, and here's a couple of bucks to get you through. I mean, unbelievable. And that could have been done at the beginning. It could have been done when this first started. In fact, that's the nerve of Elise Stefanik to ask the Reagan question.
As Ronald Reagan famously asked us, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? The answer for hardworking Americans across the country is a resounding no.
Oh, are you kidding me? Are you actually out of your mind? This was 4 years ago.
Breaking news tonight, President Trump declaring the coronavirus a national emergency.
A national emergency. Two very big words.
The number of cases in the U.S. rising to near 2,000. At least 41 deaths.
2,000.
All schools closing in a growing number of states. Millions of students impacted. Houses of worship suspending services. Landmarks, theme parks, sporting events, and concerts shutting down.
We don't want people to take a test if if we feel that they shouldn't be doing it. 1.4 million tests on board next week, and 5 million within a month. I doubt we'll need anywhere near that.
The testing crisis, drive-through stations overflowing, President Trump vowing to boost testing and saying he takes no responsibility for widespread delays.
Dr. Fauci said earlier this week that the lag in testing was, in fact, a failing. Do you take responsibility for that?
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
The chaos at grocery store lines where they stretch out the door, shelves cleared out.
At this New York grocery store, customers stood for 2 hours to check out.
Do we have like short attention span theater like on steroids in this country? How could she ask, are you better off? 4 years ago was 2020. That was just a snippet of 2020. And at the beginning, no responsibility. No.